start of the video, you can see the shooter setting up the camera, then showing his gun, before aiming it at the guard and pulling the trigger multiple times.
This is Sean. As you can see, awful news. In November 2021, we lost John Cain, 38 years old, father of a beautiful daughter, as you can see in this photo that I'm about to show you right now. Horrible tragedy. This happened in a city called Wisconsin. This city of Wisconsin is located in Michigan. And this is at the Grand Rapids Inn that is located in the city called Wisconsin. It's a motel, so it has 2 levels. I might mistake the words of hotel, or I might mix them up with motel. What I'm meaning to say is motel. If you haven't already, let's say some nice things about John. In the future, I would not hesitate that his daughter is going to go on YouTube, is going to go on Google search engines and look up her father. And wouldn't it be nice if she looks up her father and she sees all the wonderful comments? She's going to see all these comments and she's going to see that we're not going to forget him. I don't care if you watch this video today, tomorrow. It could be in 5 years from now, 10 years from now. If you're watching it, let's hear the name over and over again. John Cain. Let's keep hearing his name. John Cain. John Cain, we appreciate your sacrifice, and it had not been for you, we wouldn't be able to discuss the tactics in this video that can save other lives of private security officers, private security guards, armed security, unarmed security. So let's get started. There's a couple things I want to discuss in this video. I want to discuss motels or hotels in general, the dangerous conditions within, and I want to talk about tactics. The way the call came out was something as follows. John was called to the scene. He was motel security. He was actually he was filling in for his uncle. His uncle wanted the day off and he filled in. He was about to get off work. I don't know if he had a partner or not. I will tell you that John was unarmed. And I will tell you that it appears that the partner was working the same shift as him. And the partner found him unresponsive. That's what we know. Sometime during the shift, he was found unresponsive. He was about to get off. So maybe the person relieving him found John in that unresponsive condition. I don't have all the facts. In a hotel motel environment, you have to realize that this is transitory housing. Most of the time, people don't stay in hotels or motels forever. They want to transition to another house. Sometimes they're able to afford maybe 2 weeks or even a month of hotel stay, or maybe only a day or two, and then they'll end up in the street, or maybe they got kicked out of their house, and then they stay in a hotel. And sometimes they're victims of domestic violence, and that's where they'll flee to, is the hotels and the motels. Because of the transitory nature of a hotel or motel, you have to be extra careful. People don't want to stay there forever, and you also have to realize that in some of these rooms there is drug activities, narcotic activity. There's people that are under the influence. There are people there who have maybe undiagnosed behavioral health challenges, or they have behavioral health challenges and they're not medicated, and they go in these hotel rooms. And how do I know that? Or motel rooms? Because I worked security in these types of establishments, and I worked law enforcement and responded to these types of environments. So I know the clientele, or I know the population. Okay, so that's something we have to consider. Now, it looked like John responded to a call for service, and it was regarding these 2 guys that they don't want to leave. They were causing some type of unknown disturbance. They were wandering. That's all we have, is they're wandering. How many times in your career as a private security officer have you responded or been flagged down regarding somebody loitering, somebody wandering on the property? I'm sure plentiful times. It looks like that the suspect had some type of maybe at one point in time illegal access inside of the room because he's shown a video inside of a room. Whenever you remove somebody from a room, I want you to think about the king and the castle, or the queen and the castle. This hotel room, or even somebody's house, when you're about to enter it, you are entering their castle, their domain, even maybe even a tent. You're entering their castle. And just by the nature of human beings, we tend to be a little bit defensive. So when you're out there knocking on the door or contacting somebody at that hotel room or motel room and you're telling them to get out, you are infringing on their peace of mind, their peace of security. That's all that they have. And for that reason, they may fight to the death. So that's why we have to be careful. So you might be saying, well, why in the heck did he sign up for this job, this unarmed security post? Guys, I understand that we have options, but not everybody has a luxury of just starting from up here on the private security level. So maybe John had an entry level position, and maybe he wanted to move up. Maybe he had 2 jobs or 3 jobs. Look at, he had a beautiful daughter to support. We don't know his circumstance, but he made the decision to work at that motel. That doesn't mean that what happened to him is okay because he signed up for it. Absolutely not. He found that there's value at working at this place. Now, when John approaches the room, okay, he sees somebody that's perhaps filming him with loud music. Most of the time, they'll lower the music. If this person respects you, then they will lower the music. This person, it looks like, did not lower the music and is facing the camera. At this point in time, I think that John has either a sixth sense, he has some training, he has some job experience, because I was expecting him, when I read the headlines, to stand in front of the door, which we call the fatal funnel, but he was offset to the left. Now, I don't know if he was in the best position on the left. It's hard to tell because of the video. But John, he felt something. Because every time that the suspect would make a movement or a swinging movement, John would change his position a little bit. He would back off, or he'd back a little bit to the right, but he would react. And usually only somebody with experience or a good sense that something's going to happen does that. So what we can learn from this, when the danger signs, when your mind is telling you, hey, there's something wrong here, and John felt that there was something wrong. When you feel there's something wrong, that sixth sense tells you something isn't right. Let's act on it. Let's do something. Now, unfortunately, John's options are a lot more limited because he's unarmed. But we'll discuss that in a minute. So the suspect turns around really fast and basically charges the target. Guys, when I saw this, I'm not too sure, feel free to disagree, I'm not too sure that there's much difference between unarmed and armed. Even a police officer would be easily hit with this technique that this suspect used. He charged a target. Most of the time, we're expecting the suspect to challenge us, to give us time, but he rushed towards his target. And this is the problem. If those of you who are armed, can you shoot somebody if they're running after you? Okay, and that's something that's debatable. And there's something that demands more questions, right? If we're not sure that something is a weapon, if we fire and they didn't have a weapon, well, guess what we're going to be sitting? Okay, we're going to be sitting in the courtroom. And that's not what John wanted. That's not what a lot of us obviously want. So because of that, we're willing to give the suspect that extra splits of a second of advantage. Maybe it's not a gun. I noticed that John saw that the suspect was charging him. I don't know if he saw a gun or not. But I will tell you, he moved off the X. Okay, he got off the danger zone and fled somewhere. Listen guys, I am not going to show the complete video. I saw the complete video. I'm not going to link it. And the reason for that is, once again, his daughter is going to be on the internet one of these days, and she's going to want to see the video, that tragedy. It's going to remind her of that day when Dad didn't come home that night, when he was supposed to come home. So I am not going to link, I'm not going to show that video at all. But what I did see is he moved out the X. He did what he normally was supposed to. And accordingly, a partner or somebody he works with heard him say, gun, 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 gun. When he said that, the next door neighbor heard the words gun and gun and moved. We don't know if she moved off the bed or moved out of the way, but sources say that she would have been hit by gunfire had he not said the words gun, gun, gun. Just listen to that. He saved this lady's life. Was it for sure? I don't know if it's for sure or not. Those of you who are firearm instructors, you've been to advanced training, you're a firearm instructor for security or law enforcement, you might go to these schools and they might tell you don't use the word gun, because if your partner or somebody finds a gun and they say the word gun, you're inclined to shoot because you hear the words gun. So for that reason, they tell you not to use the words gun, use the word something else. And this is something that's arguable in different schools, different law enforcement security training. But what I will tell you is that's an unarmed post. And we need to respect that that's the culture, that's the work culture of that place. When they see a gun, they're going to yell the words gun, gun, gun to alert somebody else. Maybe alert a partner that they need to do something different to preserve each other's life. So let's skip that part. I actually think that that's in that context, he did a good thing, but it was at the peril of his life. Guys, if you see a gun, somebody is about to reach for a gun or being presented at you, I'm going to be a little bit brash here. Shut up. You see a gun and it's going to be presented at you, shut your mouth, shut up. Act. At that point in time, if you're out there saying gun, 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 you are wasting time. Okay? Act. Don't run away, pick up the phone and start dialing 911. Obviously depends on the circumstance. You're wasting time to get off the X. If you think that a police officer is going to show up right when you're calling 911, you're fooled. You've been fooled. You've been duped. If you have some time and space, then call 911. But there has been stories where a lot of people have died with their cell phone in their hand, calling 911. That's not going to save your life. Saving your life involves you getting off the X, getting out of there. Okay, let's talk about some other things that he could have maybe considered. You guys, this is, once again, this is tough. A lot of law enforcement officers in that same circumstance would have been ambushed. I mean, this one was tough. He rushed the suspect rushed the target. If you're on a 2-story floor, consider jumping off. You might get a broken leg. You might fall and bust your head open and die. That's a possibility. But what's the other option? Running down the hallway? John was killed on the 2nd floor. Now, throughout this video, I'm going to show you some photos of where I think that the incident happened based on the news video footage. But I'll tell you this: that there's almost nowhere to go. You can go left, you can go right, but it's tough, you guys. I'm gonna pull up a photo right now. This is the back portion. The reason why I'm showing you this is because this is representative. It's representation of what the front looks like. I can't get a picture of the front because of the Google Maps, and I can't zoom in on some of the pictures that I obtained online. But look, if you jump, that's probably survivable. Remember, John was killed on the 2nd floor. You make it to the 1st floor, and you start running the hell out of there. Whether you're armed or unarmed, your chances of survivability are going to increase. Now, if you're on the 3rd floor, you might survive. 4th floor, when you're talking about going higher up, I want you to also look for vehicles and consider that if you fall, try to position yourself so you fall on a vehicle. That's going to give you a little bit more height. There's some crush. With that crush on top of a vehicle hood, you do get some cushion, a very little bit. But consider that. If you're armed and you're able to run to a position of advantage, maybe a corner very quickly, round it and then turn around, or get into a position of cover, then do so. But if you're unarmed, you need to keep moving. Move. Being armed gives you definitely more options. Okay. Some of you might be saying, why didn't they just call the police? You have a suspicious person wandering, loitering on the property. Some properties do not want you to call the police. And here's why. You keep calling the police will show up, obviously, most of the time in their marked police vehicles or marked sheriff cars. It brings attention to that property. And when I look for a place to stay and I see police cars all over the place, I'm not too sure I want to stay there. So some don't want to do it. Some owners don't want you to keep calling the police. That's why they hired you, security. Obviously, some are different. Now, if it's a life-endangering event, then most property owners or most clients, they want you to call the police. They don't want you to endanger your life. About positioning. Where do you wait for this person? Let's just say you need to make contact with somebody inside of a hotel room, or you need to make contact with somebody at a motel. Where exactly should you position yourself? I'm going to say position yourself just like where John was positioned. Some of you might be saying, well, John lost his life. Why would I position myself the same position where he was at? I'm going to explain a little bit further. But what I want to at least suggest, you can do what you want, but at least what I suggest is take a position where you're either at the left corner or the right corner, right outside of the door. You're almost cutting the pie. And I want you also to keep in mind that everything I say in this video requires some further professional instruction by an instructor who is well qualified. Now, this is not our video right now. This is not professional training. I'm just giving you some ideas, and I don't expect you to replicate the ideas. I expect you to get the knowledge and talk to somebody else who is well versed in tactics. So take a position where John took, but I want you to do something differently. Now remember, I talked about if you have to, especially on a second story, jump over. If you're unarmed, if you're armed, you have a little bit more options. But if you have to, make that part of your plan. I want you to say to yourself, okay, I am going to approach this room, but if this happens, then I will do this. That way you're going to have a faster plan and you're not going to hesitate. John's plan was already to start running away. And that would work for most people, because in many circumstances, the suspect doesn't charge you. He might just pull a gun out so you get out of the way, but they don't charge you all the time. And unfortunately, John ran into an unfortunate, less likely experience, but it happened with him, unfortunately. So get at the corner position. You're almost like cutting the pie. And I did a video on this earlier last year, or mid-August of last year. I'll post a link in the description on how to clear a room, how to clear a building. But you want to position yourself somewhat like I demonstrate in those videos, okay? Now, something differently that I want you to do is this. If you're given the opportunity, when the suspect turns their back on you, if you're at the left corner, I want you to move to the right corner or move to somewhere different, assuming you're working by yourself. What this is going to do is this. So he's like this. He's getting the gun ready, okay? He basically made an index point. So right where you're at before he saw you, that's the index point. That's where he's going to start firing, most likely, if he is. Now, obviously, in John's situation, it's a little bit different because he charged the target. But John's situation is rare and it's unique. But in most circumstances, they're going to flash a gun at you, they're going to point it at you, they'll brandish, so on and so forth. So If you stay right there, the index point is the same place where you're at. So suspect pulls a gun out, turns around, it's gonna most likely be, that muzzle is gonna be oriented in that direction where you're at. If you take another corner, okay, it's gonna take them that splits of a second. I know it might not sound like enough time, but sometimes we need splits of a second to get off the X, get out of the danger zone, to realize it's actually, this is a real threat that's gonna potentially end your life. So go to that other corner, even though you're only saving splits of a second. Okay, get in that position. This is for unarmed. Your options are very limited. Your options are almost jump over if you're on the second story. Third story, every motel, hotel is differently. I'm waiting for you guys' comments. I can't think on my, I'm not gonna say I can't think on my own. Put it this way, I have a large audience with a lot of experience. So I wanna hear what ideas you have, and other people wanna hear what ideas you have. But in an unarmed situation, he turns around, points a gun at you, you still have that smaller reaction time. You could jump over the ledge if you like, or just keep booking it. Just keep booking it to the left or to the right as fast as you can if you don't want to jump off. Okay. Now, obviously, don't jump off if you are gonna die. But then again, you have, geez, this is tough, you guys. You have to weigh each of the evils. What is the chance of you dying if you jump off the ledge? What are your chances of dying if you get shot? But there's always that chance it could be a fake gun. It's up to you. You do your own risk assessment. Okay, so for a 2-man post or 2-woman post, 2-officer post, there's a couple things that we can do. You can have an officer on the left and then on the right. Okay, you each take a corner. Okay, don't stand in the fatal funnel, which is directly in the doorway, but stand on the sides. That gives the person more time to concentrate on somebody else, or have, I know this sounds jacked up already. I don't have any better way of making the sound than the suspect is going to concentrate on your partner. I don't know how to better phrase that, but having 2 people there might actually overwhelm him a little bit. He might feel like, you know what, I'm going to lose because there's 2 of them. Now, if you're unarmed, don't show them that you're unarmed, because that could be used to your disadvantage as well. Just blade your body as best as you can, and don't show them that you don't have a weapon. Okay, and again, this is something that's a little bit controversial. Every situation is different. It could benefit you if the suspect believes you're unarmed, or it could be to your disadvantage if you're armed. If this is a suicide by cop, then this person is going to want to die in a blaze of glory. And I know that you guys aren't, well, most of you watching this, you're not cops, but the bad guy don't realize that. To him, they're going down in a blaze of glory. Blaze of glory because they think that you are the police. You wear very similar uniforms. A better preferred tactic, if this is a narrow passageway, is this. So what I tell new officers when I train them, there's these apartments, and I'm going to pull up a picture right now. There are these apartments where there's a very narrow passageway to get to the front door, to get to the main door. What I often see in my line of work in law enforcement, I see the sergeant up there. I see 3 officers at the door, and there's nobody below. And all the suspect has to do is just start opening fire and just move the muzzle of the gun a little bit, and they can hit somebody new. I believe that this may be the case during the new Phoenix Police Department shooting where 9 officers were hit. I believe 4 or 5 were hit were ricochets, but they were all hit, and I believe they all stacked up. What I would rather do, or what I train new officers, if there's a very narrow passageway, one will knock on the door, obviously depending on the circumstances. If there's a circumstance where I need to make an arrest, and most private security officers don't need to make an arrest, but law enforcement, if you need to make an arrest, you're going to go hands-on with somebody, then 2 at the door two at the door is more preferred. But if it's just a loud noise complaint or unknown circumstances, one officer, and this is where I think security should follow law enforcement. One officer knocks up at the door, okay, while another officer is positioned at the bottom of the staircase or middle of the staircase, somewhere out of sight, and I like to say out of mind, somewhere behind cover. That way, if the suspect comes out shooting, the officer who's still there, if he's able to, can actually back up. And this would actually be for armed situations. Can actually back up and flee to safety, while the guy the security officer that's in the middle of the stairwell or the bottom could start laying down gunfire. Keep this guy's head down. Keep him away from touching my partner. And this is a strategy that I preach to newer officers. There is no sense of bringing in a sergeant, 3 officers, 4 officers, everybody right at the door. Obviously, depending on the complaint. So that's what I like to do. And the rationale is this. It's better. This is going to sound wrong. I don't know how to better phrase this. But it's better to get 1 officer hit than 2, than 3. Remember, that officer that's not hit could potentially engage in life-saving measures. If there's an unarmed guy, this is an unarmed post. The guy knocking at the door is unarmed. They got the middle of the staircase is not armed as well. That person could call for help. Engage in life-saving measures. Maybe the suspect didn't see him, and just flee the scene. That's always a possibility, and then the partner can render aid. It is when you work unarmed in just about any housing environment, you're already at the disadvantage, you guys. So anyhow, this is the best word of advice I can give you in a screwed up situation, in a volatile situation. Just because I have experience in both fields, law enforcement and security, that doesn't mean that I have the right answer to everything. There's always a better answer. And I am looking forward to hearing from you guys. What do you guys think? What are some different ways on how you can approach hotel disturbance situations that involve you contacting this person inside of a room or motel? I'm not just listening in the comments. There's a lot of other people that are listening to your comments. You guys take care, and please be safe. Please leave a comment below. Also, rest in peace to our friend John. And we, if you're religious, we pray that God or the Lord can please guide this young child to having a better life without her father. It's already a messed up situation. Take care.